Today, we're going to step back and look at one of the biggest, most important questions there is. Where are we as a species actually headed? It feels like we're standing at a profound crossroads, a real planetary choice point. And to even begin to understand it, we need a solid framework. So let's dive in. Now, to guide us through this, our entire analysis today is built on the intellectual foundation of two specific, deeply connected works by the author Leo Fernandez. We're going to unpack his diagnosis of where we are right now and then explore the framework he proposes for where we could go.
So here are the two sources. The first, the Planet Earth Reports, is this really fascinating project. It's a synthesis of analyses from multiple advanced AIs that were asked to look at our long-term trajectory. The second, the Tetralogy on AI, is the original philosophical framework that helps us interpret what all that data actually means. Think of it this way. One is the what, and the other is the why.
The whole premise of that first work is, well, it's powerful because it's so simple. Fernandez basically tasked our most advanced AI models to, in effect, hold up a mirror to humanity. He asked them to generate a long-arc civilization report based on pretty much all the public data we've ever created. It's a kind of planetary self-reflection, mediated by our own technology.
And this is the kind of stark, chilling conclusion that came back. This is a direct quote from one of those AI analyses. And it just perfectly sets up the central tension of our time, right? History tells us that civilizations tend to break down, but our intelligence, our capacity for something new, gives us the obligation to try and defy that pattern.
So that really begs the question, doesn't it? This is the question that connects both of Fernandez's works. If we're going to defy our own historical patterns, what kind of intelligence does that actually take? It's pretty clear it's not just about more data or faster processing. It has to be something deeper.
Okay, so let's start with the diagnosis that came from those Planet Earth reports. This is the cold, hard, data-driven assessment of where we stand right now.
The AI models all converge on this one stark number. We have breached 7 out of the 9 critical planetary boundaries. Now, what that means is that we are operating far outside the safe, stable environmental conditions, that Holocene-like state that literally allowed human civilization to develop and flourish for thousands of years. We're pushing the fundamental systems of our planet, like the climate and biodiversity, deep into the red zone.
And just to make this crystal clear, take a look at atmospheric CO2. The scientifically agreed-upon safe limit, the one that gave us a stable climate, is about 350 parts per million. Right now, we're sitting at 423. And you have to understand, this isn't just a little bit over. It's the highest level of CO2 the Earth has seen in millions of years. It's a profound breach.
So, what's the actual risk here? Well, the AI models put a number on it. They calculate a roughly 35% chance of what's called a great filter event. That means civilizational collapse or a major reversion. And this chilling number isn't just about one thing, like an asteroid. It's about the convergence of two massive forces, the breakdown of our ecological systems and the runaway power of unaligned technology.
And if we just play the tape forward from where we are now, the models forecast a pretty daunting timeline. In just the next 10 years, they predict systemic dyssynchrony, where our social and economic systems just can't keep up with the pace of change, leading to adaptation crises. In 50 years, we hit a critical bottleneck, where an aging peak population collides with a severely strained environment. Then, 100 years out, a fundamental test of who we are, the integration of our own biology with a new planetary intelligence, what Fernandez calls a Noosphere. And all of this leads in about 200 years to what they call a second equilibrium. The only question is, what kind of equilibrium will it be?
And this is really what it boils down to. These are the two potential outcomes of that future equilibrium. On one side, you have the Great Transition, a move to a sustainable, post-scarcity planetary civilization. On the other side, you have the Great Filter scenario, a fractured world with a few high-tech fortress cities surrounded by a collapsed and degraded periphery. I mean, the choice couldn't be more stark.
Okay, so the data is pretty bleak, but just looking at the numbers doesn't really get to the why, you know? To understand the deep forces that are pushing us towards this choice, we need that philosophical framework. And that's where we turn to the core ideas in Fernandez's Tetralogy on AI.
Fernandez kicks things off with his huge idea he calls Cointelligentialism. And the key takeaway here is that we have to stop thinking in terms of human versus machine. That whole debate is obsolete. Intelligence isn't an isolated thing anymore. It's an emergent property that arises from our constant symbiotic interaction with AI. We are quite literally co-evolving.
And what grows out of that symbiosis is something he calls we consciousness. Just think about it. When you use an AI to help you write something, or design a product, or solve a really complex problem, who's the author? Where does your thinking stop and the AI's begin? It's blurry. This joint cognitive identity completely messes with our old-fashioned ideas about individual agency and who's in control.
And this gets to the absolute heart of the problem he identifies in the Tetralogy. Our crisis is not technical. It is not a lack of power. We have an almost unimaginable amount of that. The crisis is one of purpose. Our ancient, hardwired survival instincts, things like competition, extraction, thinking only about the short term, they were great for helping us survive on the savannah. But now, when you amplify those same instincts with godlike technology, they become incredibly dangerous. They are now maladaptive, and they're driving us right toward the cliff's edge.
So if those old drivers are failing us, what's next? This is where Fernandez makes a really profound argument, that for us, evolution is no longer a blind, passive process. It has become a conscious choice. It's a moral responsibility. And that choice splits into two very, very different directions.
So here they are, the two paths. On one side, you have outward evolution. This is the one we know really well. It's all about speed, control, expansion, extraction, basically technological dominance. It's the story of the modern world. But then you have inward evolution, which is about reflection, integration, making meaning, having ethical depth, and, this is key, conscious self-restraint. And the core argument is that our civilization has become dangerously obsessed with the outward path, creating a massive, terrifying imbalance.
And this quote from the work it nails the whole dilemma. Technology, and especially AI, is a massive accelerant for that outward evolution. It's the default setting. It naturally makes us faster, more powerful, more dominant. But, and this is the crucial part, it does absolutely nothing on its own to guarantee the inward evolution. It doesn't give us the wisdom, or the ethics, or the meaning we need to handle all that power. That part has to be deliberately, consciously cultivated. It doesn't happen by accident.
Okay, so this is where it all clicks into place. This is the point of convergence, where we bring the two sources together and see how the AI's stark diagnosis and the human philosophical framework are really telling the exact same story. This table just lays it out so clearly. You see the diagnosis from the reports on the left and the underlying cause from the framework on the right. The planetary boundary overshoot, that's the direct result of our unchecked survival instinct for extraction. The instability and polarization we see everywhere, that's a symptom of prioritizing outward evolution's focus on competition over everything else. And that terrifying risk of a great filter event, that is the ultimate consequence of this dangerous imbalance, of our power growing exponentially while our wisdom flatlines.
So, what does it actually look like to choose that inward path? Well, the reports list several things they call non-negotiables. But when you look at them through the lens of the Tetralogy, you realize they aren't just technical fixes on a checklist, they are concrete applications of inward evolution. Transitioning to a post-growth economy is an act of conscious self-restraint. Creating global governance for AI is an act of deep ethical reflection. These are the practical, real-world steps we have to take to start cultivating wisdom on a planetary scale.
And this all leads us to the final, and maybe the biggest, concept in Fernandez's entire framework, this idea of an emerging planetary sphere of thought.
This is really the ultimate insight. We have to zoom all the way out. Our intelligence, human, artificial, and even the deep intelligence of the biosphere itself, they aren't separate things anymore. We are all becoming interconnected nodes in a planetary scale cognitive system, a noosphere. And in a system that's this deeply interconnected, raw power without coherence, without a shared sense of meaning, is fundamentally destabilizing. It's like a body at war with itself. Survival now depends on integration.
And so we end right back where we started, but with a much clearer picture of the choice in front of us. Both the data from the AI and the philosophy tell us the same thing. Intelligence has already reached a planetary scale. The final, lingering question, the question for all of us, is whether that planetary intelligence can now, finally, evolve to become wise.